Hello, everyone. I'm Sean,
This is who?
and we are the Courageour Frights, back once again for another movie review.
Yes.
This time we're doing Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Yes. One of the worst comic book movies ever made, according to critics. Just a little bit above Ant-Man.
Yes. It's
Quantumania.
I think financially it's the worst received DC movie of all time.
Yes.
Well, maybe not of all time, but at least of the DCEU or DCU or whatever it's called these
It
days.
made like $30 million or something. It was
Yeah.
and today is like a Sunday, so that's like the weekend's over with here. It's like 30
Yeah,
million.
cool. Alright, so this, of course, is the sequel to Shazam, starring Zachary Levi or Levi, I never know how to say his name,
Yeah.
as Shazam or Billy Batson. So the first movie, of course, is his origin story. Gets his powers from a wizard
Yes.
played by Djimon Hounsou, I think is how you say the guy's name.
Yeah.
And this movie, I will, just a little side note about that character, they got a much better wig and beard this time.
Yeah.
Because I just watched this movie last night, and his beard and hair is awful in the first movie.
They ran out of budget.
It's like really bad. This one looked much better. The villains in this are Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren.
And I guess the other girl. Like,
Kind of an interesting...
well, I don't know the other girl. She kind of was a villain, but like wasn't.
Rachel Zegler or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a relatively new actress. She plays Anthea.
Yes.
And then Lucy Liu was playing Calypso and Hespera.
Yeah, Hespera for Helen Mirren.
So they are the daughters of Atlas.
Yes.
So this movie is firmly within like the realm of Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because Shazam himself is in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Well, isn't in Greek mythology, but the letters stand for different Greek god
Yeah,
powers.
they kind of like explain where his title comes from, I guess.
Yeah, they did in the first movie, but they did it super brief.
Yeah, this one's like going in depth into it.
Yeah. So you find out each letter stands for like a different god.
Yeah, because like Shazam is like, was it Solomon or something? Or
Yeah, Solo Man.
Solo Man. H was like, who was H? Like a Festus or something? I don't even know.
Probably. I don't remember what they are.
Hermes probably, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe Hermes or something. So anyway, yeah, this is the sequel to Shazam, which came out a few years ago.
Yes.
And this time, right off the bat, since towards the end of that movie, he gave powers to all of his foster family.
Yeah, the family.
This movie, they have the powers right from the start, so they're much
Yeah.
more integrated in the film, and it's
It's a little bit more like focused, and they don't have to do that origin story, I would think, at least the beginning.
right. Yeah, they don't have to do the focus. It almost focuses, story beat wise, almost focuses more on Freddy than it does
Yeah.
Billy.
Because he's probably like 40% of this movie, not even that much.
Yeah, even though he's like the main character, a lot of the plot centers on Jack Dylan Grazer's character.
Yeah.
The actor's pretty good. He was
Yeah.
in Stephen King's It.
Yeah, he was in
also.
It.
So yeah, he's good in this too. Actually, I thought everybody was good in this. Like,
Yeah.
we talked about it being the worst received movie at the beginning.
Yeah.
I do not agree with that.
I don't agree with that either. Because this movie was actually pretty. It had a lot of comedy. It was surprisingly heartfelt. This movie,
Yeah.
For a comic book movie, it was surprisingly heartfelt.
Yeah, I guess what spoilers for our review. We like this better than Ant-Man.
Yeah. I mean, this was like. I'm surprised how bad it got, like review wise.
Yeah, I think reviewers are just done with comic book movies.
Yeah. I do agree with that.
So, yeah, I don't think we need to go too much in depth in the plot of this and
Yeah.
stuff. This is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter review. The problem with these movies, though, is that a lot of times you'll notice with our Ant-Man review, almost 70% of the review was talking about the MCU as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with this, and we're going to have to get into that with this,
Yeah,
too.
because this one, especially the end credit scene, it feels very James Gunn.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah.
that after we talk about the movie. But yeah, so the movie for this one, I thought it was pretty cool. The villains being daughters of Atlas are basically goddesses.
And actually, were they really even villains? I mean, it
Well,
had one. Lucy Liu was like the
was.
villain. Everyone
Yeah.
else was like, we're trying to get our world back.
Yeah,
It's like, we're not going to destroy another world to get our world back.
except for Lucy Liu.
Yeah, Lucy Liu's like, they're monsters. Let's kill them all.
Let's kill them all. They use the Tree of Life, the Tree of Might.
Yes.
Get the Dragon Ball Z crossover
Yes.
a bit. So, but anyway, they take an apple of the Tree of Life and they gotta plant it into the ground, and it'll like spring up and create their world again.
Yeah,
And they're like gods.
And there's a point where they're saying, because Lucy Liu is like, we need to put it on the Earth and just take their world over.
Yeah, which is very similar to Zod.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's pretty much what Zod was.
It's like literally the same plot.
Yeah.
But then Helen Mirren and Anne, I don't know her name.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we need to build it here. That was our goal. We didn't want to destroy another world.
Yeah, Anthea, or whatever her name is, was all for restoring the world of the gods, but not at the cost of humanity.
Yeah, because it's like they're separate. It's not like, that's not against what Atlas would even want.
Right, yeah, because she like infiltrates the school.
Yeah. And
she ends up kind of like falling in love with that Freddy guy.
Yeah.
And which causes some issues. Like, it's back to the Dragon Ball guys again. Yeah. I can guarantee the people screaming about Mai and Trunks are going to have some major issues with the romance in this story.
Yeah, this one. They even mention it in this, and you're like, this is kind of weird.
There's a little bit of a 6,000 year age gap.
Yeah.
But anyway, which I'll say to that the same thing I told the Dragon Ball fandom. Any movie about deities or vampires has done that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like forever. It's like, it's a whatever.
Yeah, it's almost like a trope at this point.
Yeah, and any relationship with a god. It's like Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
When the Flash says to Cyborg if Wonder Woman would be interested in a younger guy. And he's like, Barry, she's 5,000 years old. Every guy's a younger guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're a god having a relationship with a human of any kind, there's a hell of an age gap.
And I guess that falls kind of in mythology anyways, because that happens all the time.
Yeah, in every mythology.
Yeah, if you're like, read any actual mythology, that happens constantly. I mean, it's not like that's anything that's like shocking or anything like that.
Yeah, so I guess we're just addressing that right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that's like the basic idea of the movie is the gods need to get this golden apple that has the seed of life.
Yeah.
So they can plant their tree. They plant it on Earth. Chaos ensues.
Yeah, and they were saying, I guess they've been living almost like in a prison, because it's like in the first movie, when Billy Batson breaks that stick, whatever, it kind of breaks the barrier down between the worlds.
Right, so that's how they come through the portal.
So they're like, oh, we want this. We're trying to get this apple because that's where it's with the wizards, the human wizards that set up the barrier in the first place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that's actually how these gods come through, because the gods in the DCEU are mostly dead, but then occasionally another one will pop up.
Which that's the only problem. Like, I always think that's a problem, because they kill all the gods off. That specifically says in Wonder Woman. Yeah. That all the gods are dead. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that's a lot of DC. How do you have enemies if you don't have the...
That's my biggest problem with Wonder Woman. Yeah. I actually really liked the first Wonder Woman, but I hated that they killed the gods off. So we're kind of still dealing with the repercussions of that. Yeah. Because this movie has a few gods, but then they were hidden away in this prison somewhere.
Yeah, that the wizard guy.
Yeah, but the staff was what was keeping them at bay.
And then Billy Batson just throws it in the garbage.
Yeah, he just broke it and threw it in the garbage. And then
literally they were like, you threw the staff in the garbage.
And somehow it ended up in a museum. Yeah. And then they just walked in and took it.
I really like that scene, because that first scene is that's a very horror-esque scene.
Yeah, it is. And so we should probably talk about the director of this movie. Yeah. So the director of this is David F. Sandberg. Yeah. And Sandberg had previously done, I think he did Lights Out, and then he also did the Annabelle movies. Which Annabelle gets a cameo here.
Yeah, she's in the pediatrician's office.
Yeah. Actually, both Annabelles. Yeah. The real Annabelle, which in real life was Raggedy Ann doll, is sitting there with the insane, over-the-top Annabelle doll that's in the movies. So anyway, this is another ode to the Conjuring universe, which James Wan was the director of the Conjuring films, and he's the director of Aquaman. Yes. So for some reason, DC keeps taking people out of the Conjuring universe. Yeah, he does a good job with horror elements. He did a good job in the first Shazam also, because there's that segment where the main bad guy, Mark Strong, comes in and summons a bunch of demons in a boardroom.
Yeah.
And one like bites some dude's head off and throws him out the window.
Yeah, I think I remember that. That was definitely horror inspired for sure.
Yeah, so this movie has that too. And the other part I thought was really cool was towards the end where they bring in a bunch of Greek monsters.
Yeah, I like that part.
And that's something I've always wanted to see with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So maybe one of my only complaints with this movie is while Gal Gadot is in the movie,
yeah,
I feel like she should have been part of that final fight scene.
Yeah,
because it's all these Greek monsters and Greek gods, and where the hell is Wonder Woman?
Yeah, because they might have seen it, which there's an interview that they were, was it David Sandberg or whatever?
Yeah.
He wanted to do something with Batman and Superman, but they couldn't do it.
They wouldn't allow it.
Because DC is the way it is.
We'll talk about that in a minute. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, this movie had cool Greek monsters, and I'm somebody who grew up with like old school fantasy films like Jason the Argonauts and that sort of thing. So seeing like harpies and minotaurs, what else is there? A manticore.
Manticores, unicorns.
Unicorns.
And these are actually like the actual Greek mythology stuff, not like the new stuff. These are like the monster, like actual monsters.
Right.
Because none of these are like, because they made everything like all cutesy and stuff like that nowadays, but it's like not.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, although like Clash of the Titans had Greek monsters.
Yeah, where it's like the harpy's like the sexy thing was not.
No,
actually.
It's just like crazy.
Like a monster
woman.
Yeah, and like
bird legs and wings.
Like the unicorn's like a happy thing, which in this one actually is more like what it normally is.
Yeah.
Like a monster that will try to kill you.
Well, they call it the King of Beasts.
Yeah.
Which, that's sort of what it is. At least in medieval heraldry, that's what a unicorn is supposed to be. But anyway, so we got cool creatures. There's a big dragon that's pretty cool. That's like the main villain, really, is the dragon.
Yeah, I kind of like how it's like that tree of life has like been corrupted almost because the soil's not supposed to be where it's at.
Yeah, basically, which I think is the plot of the Tree of Might, the Dragon Ball Z movie.
It probably is.
Because if I remember correctly, I think that tree has something to do with the Kais. But because they planted it on mortal soil or something, it corrupts the planet. So it's literally like the Tree of Might story.
They basically took a Dragon Ball plot.
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't seen that movie in a while, but I do think that's what the plot was.
Probably is.
So that'd be the second movie to take a plot from Dragon Ball this month.
Yes, exactly.
Because Creed also apparently has a bunch of Dragon Ball Z fight moments.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the fight moments from anime because of Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
It's all about the animes.
Exactly. So that's basically the movie itself without getting into all the details and spoilers and all that crap, which I don't think we really need to do. What would you rate this movie before we start talking about the DCU?
I actually enjoyed it a lot, so I'll probably say like 8.
8?
Yeah, because that's out of superhero movies recently. Mm-hmm. I actually enjoyed it because there were some heartfelt moments in this.
Yeah.
I was getting like a little teary-eyed at one of the scenes. I'm like, this is surprising for a not a horror movie, but but like a superhero movie,
especially one that's more leaned towards kids.
Yeah, and it's like more comedic, which is a lot of comedy in here.
And that's the other point too.
And the comedy actually works.
Exactly. The comedy works in this.
And it's like, okay, because of the way Shazam is, it's like it works. Surprisingly. It's like, okay, surprisingly, it's probably one of my. Out of recently, it's probably one of my favorite horror, I can say horror movies. Superhero movies.
Andy Sandberg was involved. Andy Sandberg. David Sandberg. Nobody's more horrific than Andy Sandberg.
Yeah, exactly.
The Lonely Island's the scariest thing I've ever seen.
But that's the reason why. It's because it's like, out of recent superhero movies, this one was actually, at least to me, it felt better. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do like this one a lot. I would put it like in a 7 range, somewhere in there.
And that's why I said, like, out of the critic ratings,
no,
it wasn't 50s.
I don't agree with the critics most of the time.
No, I would probably it probably more like 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
Not 50s. That's not true.
No, I liked it. Like, I thought it worked.
And even people in the theater was like, clapping and stuff.
They did like it, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like most people liked it.
And there was actually quite a few people in there for our local theater.
Yeah.
Normally there's not many people.
We watched 65 last week. There was like what? like 3 people.
Yeah, there was like 3 people. We're the only people that watched that movie anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I would say this one's pretty good. I would recommend checking it out, especially if you like the first one. Yeah. They expand on the characters.
I would say this is more of a focused story, but because they don't have to worry about the origin story.
Yeah, it's not an origin story anymore. Yeah, that's true. So anyway, so let's talk about where we think this fits in the DCU. So let's, I guess, address the obvious first.
Yeah.
And maybe possibly the most likely option is that James Gunn's rebooting everything and this crap doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
And...
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
I'm starting to think, no, I'm pretty sure this is part of the universe.
Right, yeah. So a lot of people think that this is irrelevant and Zachary Levi is done as Shazam. Everybody's done. Gal Gadot's done, which again, got to give this movie some points for putting Gal in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree with it
because
of the way this movie
so let's talk about the post-credit sequences. So the first let's talk about the second one first because my boy Mr. Mind. I was about to go off on this movie when I watched Shazam last night because I watched the post-credit sequence again. They tease Mr. Mind, who, if you guys don't know, is a talking caterpillar that wants to conquer the world.
And that feels very James Gunn.
Yeah. And I'm all for that. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I was about to go off on this movie because he's not in it, but then he's actually in the second post-credit sequence.
Very end. It's like the very end.
We're the only ones that stayed in the theater for the post-credit. I don't understand that. Like, if you've seen superhero movies, why would you leave?
You know there's two of them the majority of the time.
But anyway... They all missed out on Mr. Mind, and that's on them.
Which actually, that was pretty funny, because the guy's like...
That's like... I think that might be my favorite post-credit sequence of all time, because it's actually really funny and addresses, like...
They actually make fun of, like, the other post-credit scene.
The other post-credit scene, and the fact that post-credit scenes oftentimes don't go anywhere.
Yeah, he's like, I've been here for 2 years. What's your plan?
2 years! What are you doing?
What's your plan?
It's like, look... It takes me a long time to get places, all right? I don't have legs. I have to crawl everywhere.
It's like, I just crawl around everywhere. It's like, I'm 59 years old. How long is this going to take? What's your plan?
And he's like, well, just soon.
Yeah.
Soon. We're going to take over the world soon. I just got one more thing I got to do.
Yeah, they just leave.
And then he leaves again, and then Mark Strong is like, God damn it. And it cuts back to the credits.
It's like, I'm in this prison with like lunatics.
Yeah. So anyway, Mr. Mind returns, so I couldn't even complain about that.
Yeah.
I was all ready to attack this movie
yes.
for teasing us Mr. Mind and then not giving us anything.
Yes.
But they did. He's back. And then the first post-credit scene...
This is where I think we're probably both in agreement. This is where we think this is probably where this is part of James Gunn universe.
I think so. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed one way or another, but the post-credit scene is literally the two main characters of Peacemaker, besides Peacemaker himself. So this is, Harcourt and Economos.
Yeah.
And they show up to offer Shazam a position in the Justice Society.
Yeah.
Which itself makes fun of the Justice Society in a very James Gunn style.
Yeah.
Where he's making fun of, like, obscure characters, but focusing on the obscurity.
And it feels very James... Like, the way the writing is, it feels very James Gunn.
It felt like a scene right out of Peacemaker itself.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if James Gunn directed that sequence or had any involvement, but it sure felt like he did.
It felt like he wrote that and just put that in. There was, like I said, the reason why we brought that up earlier about some of the tidbits about that one is because with the Batman and the Superman, apparently early on they were wanting to put, like... Is it Andy or David Sandberg? David Sandberg was like wanting to put like Batman and Superman, like it was a cameo or something of like them watching like TV or something like that.
Right.
But Warner Brothers specifically said no because it would I forgot what he
open up a can of worms.
Yeah, open up a can of worms,
which is very vague.
Yeah, very vague.
And how does that open up a can of worms unless this is already kind of in the James Gunn universe, and they haven't decided who Batman and Superman is yet.
Yeah.
Because James Gunn, in an interview, they asked him about Shazam.
Yeah.
Because they didn't ask him. It was in that press thing he did.
Yeah.
That little 5-minute thing where he announced what his plan was.
Yeah.
Because he talked about, first off, we have the 4 movies in the DC universe this year that are already set up, that were there before I came in. He talks about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. He says Shazam always kind of existed in his own little pocket of the DC universe, which means that it works really well and can go right into my new continuity.
Wherever, everywhere.
Yeah, because if we're looking at Shazam as its own separate entity.
Yeah.
All right. They talk about Batman in the first movie, but we never see Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
They talk about Superman, and then at the very end they have the infamous
scene
headless Superman cameo, which they make fun of in this too. And so we see Superman, but we never see his head.
Yeah, so it could be anyone.
So it could be anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be Henry Cavill. The only people we know are recast is Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. Yeah,
because they specifically said that.
So, which, I mean, I don't agree with that, but we're not talking about that right now. So it's entirely possible that Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck aren't even Batman and Superman in the Shazam continuity. And the only one confirmed of the Trinity is Gal Gadot, because she came back as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she made, I'm assuming, 2 cameos. That first one where he's like the headless Wonder Woman.
They did that as a joke to harken back to the Superman.
Well, he's like dreaming, and he's like, because he's dreaming, he's like having dinner with.
He's having dinner with Wonder Woman in Paris.
He's always he's always wanted to be Wonder Woman, because that's part of the first credit scenes. Is like there's one with Wonder Woman in it.
Right.
That's not this one.
No, that's the Justice League.
Yeah, the Justice League. Is that the Justice Society? No.
They're like, what's your obsession with Wonder Woman? It's like, dude, really?
Yeah.
I'm with Billy on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we need to explain this?
Yeah.
But anyway, so Gal Gadot shows up in this, so she's definitely Wonder Woman in the Shazam verse.
Yeah, because they showed her face and they say, oh, this is who it is.
Right. Yeah. So, but they haven't confirmed that she's out as Wonder Woman.
They haven't said anything.
They haven't said anything. I think, in fact, Peter Safran said in an interview, I think, that there's no reason why she can't come back.
Yeah.
So, and this is also produced by Peter Safran. The first one was produced by Peter Safran. The Aquaman movies are produced by him. Yeah. And that's it.
And those are the ones that are coming out this year.
Yeah, and Aquaman 2, I think James Gunn specifically said, was actually the first film in his new continuity.
Into, like, the new continuity.
He said it leads directly into his new
really strange
continuity, which is very strange.
And then another thing that happened was, apparently 3 days before this movie was shot, with like specifically the first post-credit scene, they were gonna put the Justice Society members in it. Yeah. So the one from Black Adam.
Right, which would be like Hawkman and like that stuff.
Hawkman or whoever else.
Adam or whatever the heck that guy was.
But then apparently Warner Brothers came in, so they told him they couldn't do it.
Right, which means to me that maybe the Justice Society of America or whatever is going to be different members in James Gunn's verse.
Yeah.
So that stuff isn't continuing. Just like I'm sure Black Adam isn't continuing, at least not with Dwayne Johnson.
Which I think that's what... Probably because Warner Brothers got mad at... I'm sure they got mad
I got mad at Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson because of what he was saying. And I mean, none of it was actually true.
No, I don't have a issue with The Rock in general, but his whole handling of the DC thing, he just came off as a massive asshole.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
And I don't think Warner Bros. Wants to work with him, and James Gunn wants to work with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see what this leads to, but it does at least leave the door open to the possibility that Zachary Levi will be continuing as Shazam.
Yeah, which he does a good job with the character, so.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman being...
If they keep Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, then I'll be fine with the James Gunn verse.
That's the only thing. Is like this feels like it's part of this. It just feels like it's part of it.
It's part of James Gunn's setup.
Like it could possibly just fit in wherever they need a Shazam.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And the stuff Warner Brothers is like, no, you can't use Batman, you can't use Superman, but they're okay with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, they're okay with that because he was talking about how hard it actually is to use cameos.
Yeah, because they probably have plans and they won't tell anybody, including the people making the movies, what their overarching plan is.
Yeah, because he was talking a little bit about it. He was saying, what you have to do for cameos, because he's like, it's part of DC, I could probably just use any character, but apparently you have to go through a chain.
Yeah.
So he wanted to use, like, Watchmen.
Yeah, they said no.
No, he can't use Watchmen. He wanted to use like Captain Chimp or something. He's like a guy from Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
They said no, you can't do that.
Okay.
Which they probably at that point because of what's that guy's name? The guy who did Star Trek. J.J. Abrams.
Oh yeah.
I know he was supposed to do something like that.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to do Justice League.
They cut that out. I don't think that's even happening.
That's not happening now. No.
They told him no, and I'm sure when they were making this movie, that was probably on the table somewhere.
Probably.
And then they said Batman, Superman. He said no, you can't do that because that would open up a can of worms.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, and then he specifically said it because it was an interview, like an actual interview. This isn't like a fake interview or anything. This is like an actual interview he did.
Yeah. And
then he said about this cameo with the Justice League or Justice Society members, and they told him no 3 days before he was actually filming.
Right, but instead they gave him the Peacemaker people.
Yeah, Peacemaker people, which that's part of the James Gunn stuff.
We know for a fact are returning.
Yeah.
In the James Gunn universe, we only know of 3 characters so far that are returning. Yeah. And the only 3 people that have been confirmed is Jennifer Holland, who plays Harcourt, which is James Gunn's wife in real life. And then there's Viola Davis as Amanda Waller and Sean Gunn as Weasel.
Yeah, there we go. We know the Weasel's there. We know Weasel.
The most important people are all here.
And they specifically say Waller's name in this movie.
Yeah, because Waller's in charge of both the Justice Society and the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, both of them.
So Waller is like the key to everything.
Waller is the Jar Jar Binks.
Yes, exactly. It's the key to everything. So that's our kind of take on that. You can agree or disagree with that. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed one way or another.
This is like all just speculation. But
we're speculating that the Shazam stuff may continue with James Gunn.
Yeah.
But the people who say that it's definitely done and none of this stuff matters are also speculating. So.
Yeah, and another thing they could have easily done, because they got rid of Batgirl.
Yeah.
That was a $300 million movie. Mm. This movie was on $140-some million.
125 or something like that.
They could have easily been like, we're not going to show this movie and then just get our tax credits or whatever that thing they did with Batgirl.
Yeah, Batgirl wasn't that much. Batgirl was like $70 million or something like that. It was cheap, but still. It was a little more expensive. No, it was cheap, but they canned the whole thing.
Yeah, and they just got money back for it because of it's like a bankruptcy thing. Or,
yeah,
I don't know what they did.
One of the reasons why this movie did so poorly, I think, is the James Gunn announcement.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
that they're rebooting everything, and now nobody has like a stake in DC. They don't care.
Yeah,
but we don't know if they're really rebooting everything or not.
Yeah, because like James Gunn, when he did that thing, he was saying specifically, he specifically said Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
So this movie kind of was like just a movie. And the DC, like an Elseworld story, I guess.
Yeah.
But
they're all going to be Elseworld stories going forward.
Yeah, probably James Gunn probably had a part of reason why this movie didn't do well, and it's not doing very well in the box office.
No.
For sure.
Well,
but
yeah,
even though...
not. But it's also a relatively cheap superhero movie.
Yeah.
Like $125 million is low.
That's pretty low for a movie, which I think the first movie wasn't that expensive either.
No. Well, the first movie didn't make much money either.
No, it was like... I think it made... The opening weekend, I think, was like $50 million.
Yeah.
Which was a lot more than this one was like 30.
Yeah, this one's like 30,
yeah.
But it's still not a massive loss. And also, like, if we're talking box office numbers and crap, the Suicide Squad, I think, was the worst performing film. And they gave the director the whole franchise.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, I know it happened during the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, but still. Like, it was abysmally low.
It was really bad.
So, I don't know if box office figures matter to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, probably not, because they spent so much money on Discovery, like HBO Max anyways.
Yeah, which is tanking. But so is the whole Warner Brothers thing. I think it's very fitting that the first thing you see is the Warner Brothers logo getting destroyed.
Yeah, I know. It's like...
It just gets ripped apart and becomes New Line Cinemas.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe New Line Cinemas is just going to take out Warner Brothers. Yes. They'll just buy out Warner Brothers. Freddy Krueger will be in charge of all cinematic universes.
That was all. We're just trying to Freddy Krueger.
So, anything else you want to say about Shazam, Fury of the Gods?
No, I think we pretty much... I mean, like, the only thing is, it is a pretty good... Like, I would say it's a lot better than the way the ratings are right now. Like, if you watch, like, Rotten Tomatoes and stuff... I thought this was a lot better movie than what.
Well, it does have like an 87% audience score.
And I did read like they have like another figure or something like that it's actually like a B plus on the audience like cinema. It's like one of the other scores they have, which is actually pretty high for a superhero movie.
Right.
It's just not doing too well in the box office, and I don't know. Are they doing a 45-day thing with this or no?
I guess I don't know what they're doing anymore. With that
I don't know
stuff.
how what Disney Plus HBO Max is doing a lot of times.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're still doing that or not. They probably are.
And I think that's probably another contributing factor why this is doing so bad.
Yeah, because I think all the movies are doing bad because they know it's coming out in a month and a half.
Except maybe like Top Gun.
Yeah, well, that's because Tom Cruise refused to allow it.
Doesn't like anything. He wants to make a movie. It's a movie.
Because it took like a million years to come on to Paramount Plus.
Which I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have to be like a new movie has to come out on your streaming service. It shouldn't have to happen.
Right. Yeah, because that definitely hurts the box office sales.
Yeah.
And then like home video and stuff will boost the sales for this too.
Which I guess maybe it's a topic of another time, but I know a lot of times I guess home digital stuff, so physical copies of things apparently it's been like much more popular now.
Yeah.
Than it used to be. Mm-hmm. Like people are just maybe I don't know if they're sick of streaming services or what.
Maybe. And I've seen quite a lot of like special collector's editions and stuff cropping up lately.
Yeah.
There's a lot more studios out, like small labels, like Arrow Video and Scream Factory and all that stuff that are
Mill Creek.
No.
That's my favorite studio that makes DVDs or Blu-rays or
Mill Creek has actually released some legitimately good stuff, like, in all fairness.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was always, like, bare bones releases.
Yeah, Mill Creek is the one. If you go to the Walmart section, probably in the discount bin.
Yeah.
Right on the very bottom of the bin. Not even on the top of the bin. It's like on the bottom of the bin. You'll find the Mill Creek movies. It's like...
Yeah.
Terramorphers. I don't know. What is it
Asylum.
Like? Or whatever other ones.
Mill Creek has done some stuff. I mean, like, Mill Creek...
Was that seven-headed shark or whatever is that?
That's Asylum.
Okay.
Those are all Asylum.
Okay, they're like the same type of thing. I guess.
Mill Creek has released other stuff. Like, a long time ago, Mill Creek released, like, a collection of all the Gamera movies in Japanese
with English subtitles.
They've done that stuff before. But then, like, Arrow Video did the same thing with, like, 1 million bonus features and much better. Yeah, way better presentation. So, I guess physical media is on the way back up again, so hopefully we get more of that, because that's one of the things we talk about all the time on the channel is that. So
yeah, like game, like not with gaming, but movies, same thing with preservation and stuff, because and censorship, I guess.
It's actually becoming more of an issue with movies because there's a lot of times where TV shows in particular are getting taken off of streaming services, and that's the only way to watch it. So, yeah, but that's a discussion for another time. Yeah. The whole last 3 minutes of this had nothing to do with the movie.
It had nothing to do with anything.
So, if you're still listening to us, thanks a lot for sticking around.
Yes.
And give us a like. Tell us what you thought of the movie in the comments section below.
Yeah.
And you too could feel the strength welling within. See ya.
See ya.